Hello, this is Zamanzadeh from ZZNetworking.com. In order to see better, press this icon to view full screen. In this tutorial, we will be dealing with null values. Sometimes a condition involves a column that could be null, as illustrated in the following example. List the number and name of each customer with a null unknown street value. The correct format of the condition that is to be used for this problem is street is null. To select a customer whose street is not null, the condition street is not null is used. Now, after giving a few examples, this will become very clear to you. Now, in case you've already created a table called student, go ahead and type the following: drop table student. And you'll either get the message table or view does not exist, or table is dropped. Now let's go ahead and create a table called student, so go ahead and code along with me. Copy the code you see here on your screen to create the table called student. It's going to have 5 columns. 3 of them are varchar 2, 1 of them is a number, and 1 of them is a date. Make sure to make the student ID a primary key column as you see in the code. Hit Control Enter, and the table is created. Now we're going to start to insert data into this table. Now the first row has no null values. It's going to have every single column, there's going to be a value for it. Go ahead and code the following insert statement. Hit Control Enter. And now let's go ahead and select all from this table. So we say select all columns asterisk from student, and we get one row returned with all the values. Now suppose you don't know a few of the values. Suppose you don't know one or more of the values. Well, in this situation, we use something called null. Go ahead and copy the following code and try inserting this. Hit Control Enter, and for this one you get an error message. It says cannot insert null into system student ID. Now why is that? Well, if you remember, go ahead and hit describe, DESC, student. And if you look at the first column, which is the student ID column, you'll notice that it is a primary key. You can never insert a value that's null into your primary key column. That's why that insert would not work. Now, let me give you a few more examples of how to deal with null values. We're going to go ahead and make the following insert. Insert into the student table values, and we're going to use the word null for the phone number. Hit Control Enter, and one row is inserted into your table. Now let's select all from this table to view the results. Say select asterisk from student. We see that we have 2 rows, and the second row, you notice under phone number there's a dash here, meaning that there's no value. Let's go ahead and make the next insert. Notice that for the phone number in this insert, instead of using the word null, I use 2 single quotes. Do not use double quote. Use 2 single quotes. Hit Control Enter, and you get one row inserted. Once again, let's select all columns from our table student. And we see that the third row also has that dash, which means that the phone number is null. Well, let's go ahead and do a few more examples with null values. For the next insert, go ahead and insert the following. This time, I want you to pay attention. The last name column, I included a single quote, the word null, and another single quote around that word null. Let's see what happens when we try to insert this value in. Hit Control Enter. One row is inserted. Let's select all values from our table, and you'll notice that the last name column for the 4th row says the word null. And the reason why is because whenever you put something in single quotes, look to your code up here, whenever you put something in single quote, it enters that exact value, whatever it is. In this case, we put the word null, and the word actually showed up as null, as opposed to that value being null. So that's a common mistake. Never put the word null in single quotes, otherwise it will actually be displayed in your table. Now let's do a few more examples of how to deal with null. Now the first thing I want to bring to your attention is that we have five columns in our table. So we have the student ID column, the first name, last name, and the phone number, and the start date. We have these 5 columns. Now when you want to insert a null value into your table without actually using 2 single quotes or the word null, another way of doing it is coding the following. You say insert into student, you open up a parentheses, you put the column names that you want to insert value into. Since we're not inserting values into all 5 of our columns, we're going to leave the last name as null. We put in parentheses student ID, first name, phone, and start date. Then we say the word values, and then in parentheses we put down the value for the student ID, the first name, which is Adam, his phone number, and his start date. Let's go ahead and run this code. We inserted one more row. Let's go ahead now and see our table. And you'll notice that the last name for the 5th row is null. There's no value for it. Now, to continue this, let's go ahead and try a few select statements. When you select statements, normally use an equal sign or not equal sign. For instance, you say select all columns from the student table where some condition exists. This does not work for null. If we say select all columns from the student table where phone equals null, and we have 2 columns, we have 2 rows, the second and the third row where the phone number is null, we get no data found. What we have to say instead of equals to null is we have to say is null. So we would say simply select all columns from the student table where phone is null as opposed to equal to null. And we get the 2 values where the phone number is null. Now the same rule applies when you're talking about not equal to. So suppose we say select all columns from student where phone, and we use the not equal to sign, which is 2 arrows pointing in opposite directions, and then the word null. We once again get no data found. To find the opposite of equal to using null values, similar to saying where the value is null, we say select all columns from student where phone is not null. And then we get the 3 values, 3 records, where the phone number is not null. Now, I hope this tutorial helped you understand how to use null values, where to use them, and how to insert them into a table and select them from a table. Thank you for your time, and may God bless you.